Okay, y'all. Welcome back to Artificial Intelligence, the podcast where we explore the intersection of education, creativity, and technology, and how all things are being reshaped in the age of AI. I'm your host, Olisa Menakai.
And I'm your co host, Amrita Wright.
So, today's conversation is bold, maybe even hot like fire. Read about it. Red is urgency, passion, and sometimes anger. It's the color of warning signs, but also of love, drive, and vitality. So when we talk about read about it, RED, we're asking what pushes us past the gray area into conviction? What demands we stop wavering and take a stance in the age of AI? In our last episode, we sat with the gray areas, those blurry lines of value, efficiency, and creativity. But gray can only hold us for so long. At some point, the stakes turns red. For example, when AI generated content crosses into plagiarism, or when schools start outsourcing mentorship to machines, that's when it's no longer abstract, it's urgent.
Exactly. And urgency doesn't always mean panic. Sometimes being read about it, that's in quotes, is about clarity, drawing a line in the sand and saying, this matters enough to defend.
Yes, here's one red flag I noticed. Administrators saying AI can write lesson plans, so why invest in teacher prep time?
Mm.
That logic cuts straight to the bones of what teaching is. Lesson plans aren't just text, they're scaffolds of human relationship, pacing, and treating them as machines. Output is not just gray, it's dangerous.
And in art, the red flags show up when AI generated pieces are entered into art competitions. Once again, air quotes, without disclosure. That's not innovation, that's deception. Transparency isn't optional when communities are trusting you with representation.
Yes. So when we think about it, being read about it also means naming the label we pour in. Think of the late nights grading, the rewrites to align curriculum with real student needs, the cultural knowledge woven into art. These are not optional extras. They are the fire that makes the work meaningful.
Yeah. And undervaluing that labor is how people get burnt. Ouch. AI may reduce some friction, but it also risks erasing recognition of human effort. Passion without acknowledgement quickly turns into resentment.
Yeah, and here's where passion becomes protective. When I push it back against the idea that AI can fully replace a teacher, it is not ego, it's responsibility. I'm defending the integrity of learning itself.
Yeah, and I'm defending the integrity of culture. Art carries histories, wounds, and hopes. If AI erases the context in favor of quick aesthetics, that's not just gray, that's red. That's where we have to intervene.
Red also means stop. Stop assuming faster equals better. Stop treating human judgment as secondary. Stop underestimating the cost of erasing context.
True, true, very right. No pun intended. And stop confusing accessibility with disposability. Just because AI makes something easy to produce doesn't mean it's cheap to replace. The human touch still costs because it's carrying meaning. So, in fact, Alyssa, when we talk about red, I can't help but think about how many layers it carries for me personally. Growing up, red wasn't just a color in the crayon box, which I loved. 64, anyone who remembers that. It was Sunday dresses. It was about fantasizing about red cars, candy apple red to be exact. It was the warning light on the corner store alarm, suiting up with my red suitcases, to be more precise, my vintage red croc luggage. Just because red exudes confidence, it also bleeds caution. Did you catch that?
I caught that.
I did hues in red, and it had rhythm. I'm talking about burgundy, wine, maroon, you name it. I was red about it. And when I see AI trying to replicate red, I notice what it misses. It can generate a shade, sure, but it doesn't feel the weight behind it. The memory walking into a room and seeing everyone's head turn because the red you're wearing demands attention. And now I'm blushed and flushed, feeling the warmth of that red. That isn't coded into any algorithm. What also worries me, Alyssa, is that younger artists might think the computer's version of red is enough. But what makes our voices, our teaching, our artistry authentic is that we carry those layers, family, history, context into the work. AI does not have that lived experience. So if we're not careful, students will learn the shade, but not the story.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a very feisty way of stepping into action. So here's what I would tell educators and creators. Name your non-negotiables. What you won't compromise even with AI in that room. Establish those red flags early, whatever in contracts, classrooms, or collaboration. Also, use the urgency of your passion by being persuasive and clarify what makes your lesson more sustainable.
Exactly. And being transparent for leaders and institutions, they should be protecting spaces where human voices remain central. Budget for cultural and ethical review, not just technical implementation. Understand that read about it is not resistance to progress, it's commitment to values.
Yes, yes. So let's close it up real quick when we think about the gray areas. Those gray areas help us reflect, but the red zone forces us to act. Both matter, but if we ignore the red, we risk losing the very soul of education and creativity.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, passion is not a flaw, it's a compass. And when we're read about it, it's because we care enough to fight for what's real.
And that's real. And that what makes our work artificial. So until next time, keep creating, keep questioning, and when it matters the most, don't be afraid to be read about it. You are tuned into artificial intelligence. Bye for now.
And that's official.